Would you like to spend more time at home taking great photographs, which in turn could reduce your carbon footprint in this world of global warming? We're all supposed to be doing our part here for global warming, and this idea just might be part of that solution. Hi, I'm Brian Peterson, author of Understanding Exposure, Brian Peterson's Field Guide to Understanding Photography, and Understanding Close-Up Photography. I've been invited to a neighbor's house and they wanted me to share with them this very same tip, and this tip's really simple. Earlier, before I started making the video, I had sprayed this little patch of grass, and we're going to spray just a little bit more. And what we've got in front of me here is a tremendous amount of dewdrops on these blades of grass. Subsequently, we could just move right in and start taking some nice photographs of these blades of grass, but I want these blades of grass to pop with color. How are we going to do that? It's real simple. I'm going to borrow a couple of flowers from my neighbor's hanging basket here. I'm going to grab a yellow one and I'm going to grab a red one. The combination of red and yellow is pretty striking. And I'm going to simply put these in the background. And by background, I mean I'm going to put the yellow one there and put the red one here. And now I've got a background of red and yellow that's going to allow me to dress up these blades of grass with the dewdrops on them. To approach this photograph, I've chosen to use a macro lens, which is going to give me incredibly close focus capabilities. You do not need a macro lens. You can do this with a Canon Close-Up 500D. You could also use extension tubes. The ones I particularly favor are the Kenkos, K-E-N-K-O. And as I mentioned, the Canon 500D. If you're going to be using the 500D, you'll have a great amount of success with that when you put it on a telephoto zoom, particularly if you've got a telephoto zoom that has close focus capabilities. If you want to use the extension tubes, I would recommend that you use them in the focal length range of 50 to 100. Now, we're all set to go, but before we move in close, I want to stress one more thing. A lot of people appreciate almost immediately when they've used the tubes, the Canon 500D or a macro lens, just how ridiculously shallow the depth of field becomes. Even with apertures of 16 and 22, when we're focusing in remarkably close, the depth of field has about a ½ inch to 3/4 inch max. That is to say, things that are in focus. In this particular case, I'm going to focus on drops of water that are on blades of grasses about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in front of those flowers. Subsequently, the background will not be flowers, but it will be strictly color because it's thrown out of focus. As a result, we're going to have a blade of grass, and if we get lucky, inside those drops, we will see the flowers, ironically, but we won't see them actually in the background beyond those drops. Let's take a look. As far as aperture choice, I'm going to be shooting this at about f11 to f13, somewhere in that range. But first I got to find the perfect blade of grass with drop, and I can see it right there actually. It looks incredible. The background, out of focus red, out of focus yellow, my aperture of 13. I'm now adjusting my shutter speed until the correct exposure is indicated, and I like to shoot at about -2/3 on most everything. And there I find a correct exposure at a 1/800th of a second, and I'm going to make sure I'm parallel to that blade of grass. Also, that's something else you want to do in macro work, is get as parallel to the subject as possible because sharpness is minimal. And here we go. Take a look at that. Now, I have done this exercise in yards all over the world. Here's some other examples of where I've done this. San Diego, outside my hotel. Over at my parents' place on a Mother's Day afternoon. Yes, I know I shouldn't have been taking photographs on Mother's Day, but nonetheless I couldn't resist the temptation. And finally, here's another that I shot at the base of the Space Needle in a little patch of grass that was there for the people walking through the park. My point is, it's an idea that has unlimited potential. And at this point, I do want to add, there are several people who have inquired and written me on a few occasions and said, like the idea, but I've got back trouble. Like the idea, but I'm not getting down there in the grass because I'm going to get grass stains on my clothes, although I think that's an awfully weak argument. You could put a 30-gallon trash bag down and lay on that. And then the third thing is, I don't have grass because I live in a condo or I live in an apartment. Well, I've got an answer for all three of you. And let's take a look at what that answer is. So what's my answer to those of you with back trouble? Those of you that live in an apartment? Those of you that just under no conditions are you going to get your clothes grass stained? Well, how's this? We go down to our local Lowe's, Home Depot, buy yourself a little bit of sod, and you put it here on the table. You still got your flowers, you got your spray bottle, and you spray it all up like so. You got your camera, and you just take a nice little seat here, heck, cross your legs. Enjoy yourself, relax. Get in here like so, push this out a little bit because you're going to want some stability from the table, and fire away, and as promised, you'll have hours of fun. And you haven't left the house. You have done your part to reduce global warming. Hey, until next time, this is Brian Peterson saying, you keep shooting at home.